In today's video, we're going to continue our 2018 NHL Prospect Series, where we're covering all 31 NHL teams and doing a deep dive analysis on their full prospect pools, including their full 2018 NHL Draft selections. We have a special guest joining us today to discuss the San Jose Sharks, and that's coming up next. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. We review and discuss all 31 NHL teams, so if you're a huge hockey fan, consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. So as I mentioned here today, we're discussing the San Jose Sharks' top prospects, having a deep look at their prospect pool, and taking a look at their full 2018 NHL Draft selections. So as I mentioned as well, we also have a special guest joining us. We have Nick from a channel called Twisted Wrister Hockey. His link's going to be down below in the description. He is a Sharks fan, so he knows the team very well, but he does cover other aspects of the NHL as well. So I highly recommend upon completion of this video, you go check out his channel and certainly consider subscribing. So as I've done with other prospect pool videos where we've had a special guest, we're going to take turns going back and forth discussing each prospect, and I'm going to kick things off here with the number 6 prospect, who we have as left winger Rudy Baltars. Now Baltars is a 2015 draft selection, drafted number 142nd overall, so this guy could prove to be an NHL draft steal if he becomes a regular at the NHL level. Rudy Baltars is a left winger originally from Latvia. He's not an overly big guy, he's about 5'11". He did come over to play junior hockey in the Canadian Hockey League in the WHL for Kamloops for a season as well during the 16-17 season, and put up some pretty solid numbers. He put up 77 points in 66 games for Kamloops. After completing that strong season in the WHL, he then made the jump to the pro level of hockey, playing in the American Hockey League for the AHL's Barracuda, and he was by far their best player in my opinion, leading the team in goals and points. He put up 23 goals and 48 assists getting into 67 games, so all in all, I think his first pro year it certainly was very successful for sure. Rudy Baltars has tremendous speed, he's very quick, and he certainly has above average puck handling skills and really soft hands, so he certainly has the ability to finish as well. So I do think he has all the tools necessary to actually be a top 6 forward. I think a top 9 is more of a certainty, but certainly top 6 potential is there for sure. Many scouts say that Baltars' strongest attribute is his hockey sense. He's a very smart player, he works hard, he's good at both ends of the rink as well. Pretty good possibility here that Baltars starts the year in the American Hockey League, but I do think he'll be one of the top call-ups depending on injuries, and I do see him at least getting some action with the Sharks this season.
Hey everyone, my name is Nick, and I run a YouTube channel called Twisted Wrister Hockey. I'm based in the San Jose area, so I'm a huge Sharks fan, but I talk about more than just the Sharks on my channel, so check it out. I want to thank Mike for having me on his show and for inviting other great YouTube personalities to join this series and contribute their knowledge of NHL prospects for their favorite teams. If you haven't already, please consider contributing to Mike's Patreon so that he can continue putting out quality content. Alright everybody, let's go. Arguably the top pick in the Sharks system is Ryan Merkley, defenseman. He's a right-handed shot listed at 5'11", 170 pounds, so he's kind of small for NHL standards, but remember, there's kind of a place in the NHL for smaller defensemen like Ryan Ellis and Torrey Krug. To sum things up, Merkley is a very gifted playmaker on offense, and defensively he demonstrates some solid fundamentals, but he struggles a lot with his positioning. I'll talk about that more a little bit later. Now, Merkley was a controversial pick, and I'm not saying that because he has his defensive setbacks. It's because he's had some attitude problems before. So in his rookie year, his coach basically ejected him from a game and made him sit in the locker room because they had gotten into an argument. And then the next season, he was suspended 3 games for a violent two-handed slash. Let's talk a little bit about Merkley's career so far. So he's played 2 seasons in the Ontario Hockey League with the Guelph Storm. As a 16-year-old, he put up 12 goals and 43 assists for 55 points, but he was a -41. Guelph finished last place in their conference, so you can't put it entirely on Merkley. The next year he made some improvements, putting up 13 goals and 54 assists, so 67 points in 63 games. But he had a -29. In recent tournament play, he added 6 assists in 5 games during the Gretzky Cup. Here are my observations of what I've seen from Merkley. So he has great vision for the ice. He knows how to create passing lanes. He's good at just bringing the puck to other parts of the zone. He's patient, so he's a great puck handler. Now his shot isn't tremendous, but I think that he uses it effectively. He knows how to put it on net. He knows when to shoot. As a pretty adept skater, he's also very good at shielding himself from defenders, and that's very important given that he's a pretty small player. Now, I actually haven't seen much of him defensively because when you search for highlights on YouTube, you usually get highlights of goals, good passes and whatnot. So here are what scouts have had to say about his defensive game. One scout said that through the first season and a half in the OHL, Merkley was statistically one of the worst defensemen. He's known to chase the puck a lot in the high slot, and he has a hard time kind of keeping to his side of the zone, so that could be a big problem. As a smaller player, he's going to naturally struggle against larger opponents, especially when trying to dig out a puck from the corner, so that's an item of note as well. He does have a couple of upsides though. One scout has noted that he does a good job of judging when to cover the net and when to pursue the puck handler behind the net. Additionally, he does a good job of tracking players across the zone and using his stick to disrupt the passing lane. Now for my outlook on Merkley. He has one more season in the OHL, so he's going to probably play that out and, do his thing offensively and contribute there. As for his defensive game, I don't know how much progress he'll make in the OHL, but he could possibly come to the San Jose Barracuda, the Sharks' AHL affiliate, at the end of the season and kind of learn from some of the more seasoned players there. The Sharks don't need to rush Merkley to the NHL level because they're pretty set defensively for the next couple of years. If you look at their other right-handed defensemen, you've got Brent Burns, who's under contract forever. You've got Justin Braun, who's under contract for another 2 years. And you've also got Dylan DeMello, who's going to be around for 2 more years too. Now, I think that Merkley could eventually push for a spot kind of later, maybe in the 1920 season. But even doing that, he'd have to have put up some pretty good numbers in the AHL. The Sharks, they were 9th in goals against this last season. They were 2nd on the penalty kill. So they're doing fine defensively. And they actually have an underrated blue line offensively. So I know that Brent Burns obviously contributes a lot. But the Sharks overall as a team were 2nd in the league in points contributed from the defense. So they're pretty set there too. As for his attitude problems, he just turned 18, so I think that, we might be judging him a little bit too early in his career. With the Sharks, they have a lot of seasoned veterans, guys like Marc-Edouard Vlasic on defense, Brent Burns, Logan Couture. I think that they'll be able to kind of subdue those problems should they arise. I mean, the Sharks took on Evander Kane, and he's worked out really well in a small sample size, but nonetheless, they were confident in signing him to an extension. So I think that San Jose is a fine market. San Jose is not like a hockey hotbed. The media aren't very intense out here. I think that Merkley is going to fit in just fine in the next couple of years.
Next up, we got Mario Ferraro, left shot defenseman, 2017 second round selection, playing in the NCAA. Mario Ferraro is not an overly big guy. He's about 5'10", 185 pounds, but he's a really smart defenseman. He's a really smooth skater, and he really distributes the puck well. Great first pass out of the zone. So obviously with the modern day offensive puck moving defensemen now, they're not as big as they used to be. He certainly fits that bill. He's likely going to be a few years away, as he is expected to play a few more seasons in the NCAA before turning pro. He's playing for UMass Amherst, which is the same team that Colorado Avalanche star defenseman Cale Makar plays for. Ferraro projects to be a top 4 offensively gifted defenseman for sure. At this point in time, like I said, he's not overly big, but he is really quick. He's got explosive speed to get up and join the rush with the forwards and join the offensive attack, which is where he's at his best. So he can certainly be very effective on the power play as well. But he is strong in his own end as well. He works really hard, and like I said, his size is certainly not something that works against him. He knows how to use his stick and his body effectively to be a strong defender, as well as kicking in on the offense. So Ferraro, like I said, likely plays a couple more seasons in the NCAA. He's certainly a defenseman that Sharks fans can be excited about for the future. I do think he has really strong top 4 potential.
The next prospect I'm going to talk about is center Josh Norris. The Sharks selected Norris with the 19th pick in the 2017 draft. He's listed at 6'1", 190 pounds, and he's a left-handed shot. At the 2017 Scouting Combine, he demonstrated exceptional agility and leg strength, so he was one of the top performers there. Now, since the draft, Norris has gone on to play for the University of Michigan, and in his first year there in 37 games, he had 8 goals, 13 assists, and a -8, but 25 points in a freshman year, not bad. Michigan also went on to the Frozen Four that year, so he knows how to play at a very high competitive level. Norris has also played in a few international tournaments, including the World Junior Championships. In the 2017 championship, he contributed 3 goals and 4 assists for 7 points and a +5 rating, and that helped the US capture gold that year. So here are my impressions of Norris. I've only seen a little bit of footage from him, but I can surmise that he has a great shot. He knows how to wrist it top corner. I'm kind of surprised that he didn't actually score more goals. I also like how Norris knows how to go to the net. He's not afraid to go to the dirty places, grind it out to get those dirty goals, and another scout noted that as well. Now here's some more about what the scouts had to say. First of all, he's a true two-way center, and he's very reliable out there. He's a hard worker, he's intensely competitive, he's a great forechecker too. He's a playmaker with a pass-first mentality, and he provides boundless energy on both ends of the ice as a shifty, crafty skater. Now for my outlook. Now Norris is going to keep playing for the University of Michigan. He's just 19 years old, and the Sharks have a very deep four lines currently. Dylan Gambrell is currently the fourth line center, and he's another guy that we'll talk about shortly. He doesn't have so much NHL experience, and should he not work out, perhaps there's an opportunity for Norris to fill in there. I could also see that maybe in 1920, Norris will be brought up in situations in which, let's say, a guy gets injured. Like Logan Couture, he gets injured sometimes, so maybe Norris would come in and step up there. He's not going to blow us away with his offensive abilities in that he's not as electric as some of the other centers out there in the league, but he's very reliable, he's got a lot of poise, and I think that he's going to eventually make his way at least into the top 9, if not the top 6 for the Sharks, maybe 2-3 years down the line.
Next up, we've got 2016 second-round selection, Dylan Gambrell. Now, Gambrell played his collegiate hockey at the University of Denver, played 3 solid seasons there where he was a point-per-game player. He's a right-shot center iceman and certainly has a good opportunity, I think, to be in the Sharks lineup this year, possibly on a full-time basis, playing in the bottom 6 role as a center iceman. Now, Dylan Gambrell's not a flashy player. He's not the kind of player who you're going to watch and go, wow, and be really blown away. But he does all the little things really well. Like, he's a pretty good skater. He's a really smart player, responsible defensively. So he's kind of known as a really solid two-way center iceman. And I do think he likely does project to be a bottom 6 center at the NHL. Even though his collegiate stats indicated he was more offensive, sometimes that can be difficult and tricky to translate that offense to the higher pro level. And I do think there's a possibility here that that might be something that Gambrell is not the strongest with. But that's fine because he certainly has a lot of other attributes that will make him a solid NHL player and a productive one in a bottom 6 type of role. So Gambrell likely, as I said, has a good opportunity to be the 4th line center this season for the Sharks. There have been some scouts that make the argument that Gambrell does have more offensive upside than they do expect more of an offensive type game from him at the NHL level. And that certainly could be. But for me, based on what I've seen and what I know of this player, I think he likely projects as a bottom 6 center. But depending on the situation, given the certain opportunities due to injuries or the coach juggling his lines, whatnot, I think you could move him up into the lineup on occasion and get some more offense out of him. Obviously, the capabilities are there. For me, it also kind of depends on who he ends up playing with. Obviously, because he came from the NCAA, he is a little bit older than some of the guys coming in as juniors, so he does have a very well-rounded, mature game. Only time will tell if his offensive game, like some of the scouts argue, will translate to the NHL or not. Either way, at the very least, the Sharks have a very responsible bottom 6 center iceman who can really be productive, good on face-off, good in his own end, can kill penalties, and really be a valuable member of the team. But if his offensive game does pick up at the NHL level, then maybe they'll get more of that. That'll only be a bonus and project him up higher into the lineup for sure.
Now, the last prospect I'm going to talk about is Sasha Malevsky. Now, Malevsky was born in California, but he has dual citizenship in the US and the Ukraine. He was the Sharks' 6th round, 185th draft pick in 2017, and he's seen as a possible late round steal. The Sharks have a good history of late round steals. Joe Pavelski was drafted in the 7th round in 2003. Malevsky is listed at 6 feet, 181 pounds. He's listed as a center/winger, but as a prospect, I see him as a winger possibly for the Sharks. Malevsky has played 2 full seasons in the AHL with the Ottawa 67s. In his first full season, he had 21 goals, 22 assists for 43 points, but he had a -24 in those 58 games. Now, the 67s were not that great of a team, so don't put it all on him. The next year, he tore it up with 35 goals, 41 assists for 76 points in 68 games. He also had a +8 rating, and his faceoff percentage was 56.2, so that's very good. Overall, in the OHL, he was 19th in points, tied for 17th in goals, and 6th overall in shots on goal. After that season, he came over to the AHL with the Barracuda, and he played 6 games, contributing 3 goals and an assist. He also tore it up in this year's Gretzky Cup. He had 4 goals and 5 assists for 9 points in just 5 games. From what I've seen, Malevsky is very elusive with the puck. He knows how to pick his spots, he can rip it top corner, and although scouts say that his offensive game is a little bit more well-rounded, I could definitely see him on the Sharks as a shoot-first player. Scouts have noted that he has great puck handling and good speed and acceleration, so he can create separation from his defenders. He reads the play well in the offensive zone, and he's a natural playmaker that possesses great vision and adept puck distribution skills. Now defensively, scouts don't seem too impressed, but these observations were mostly from 2017. I'm not sure what sort of progress he's made in 2018, to be honest, but here's what the scouts had to say. He still has some time to improve his off-puck and defensive zone play. He doesn't show the same sense of urgency to backcheck and has the ability to float a little bit defensively and wait for teammates to get the puck so that he can start the rush going into the offensive zone. As far as my outlook for Malevsky, I look at it this way. Joe Pavelski is 34 years old, and as great of a goal scorer as he's been throughout his career, he's kind of slowing down, and he's going to be a UFA at the end of the season. Other than that, the Sharks really don't have a right-handed shot. You've got Kevin Labanc, you've got Jonas Donskoy. They're good playmakers. They're able to move the puck well, but the thing is that they're not really true goal scorers. So that's where I see Malevsky coming in, possibly in 1920, but definitely beyond that. He has 1 more year left in juniors, and he should be able to, progress more there, but I'm curious to see what he could do with the AHL Barracuda, perhaps at the end of that season in 2019. Even though he was a late draft pick, he made a lot of progress in just this last season, so maybe there's a chance he could even play for the Sharks in 2019-2020.
So those are your top 6 Sharks prospects. There's certainly a lot to be hopeful and optimistic for the future of the San Jose Sharks. They have a lot of good guys coming up the pipeline here. So again, I'd like to take a minute here and thank Nick from Twisted Wrister Hockey for coming on and sharing his analysis and insights on those Sharks prospects. Again, if you're not familiar with this channel, I highly recommend you go down to the link, check him out, consider subscribing. If you're a Sharks fan, you'll certainly appreciate his Sharks perspective, but he does cover all other aspects of the NHL as well. So if you're a hockey fan in general, you'll also appreciate his content and you should go check him out. Now I want to take a minute here and recap all of their 2018 NHL draft selections. So I'm going to put a graphic up here on the full screen to take a look at the summary of their draft selections, and we'll go through them here one by one. So first up, their first round selection, number 21 overall, is a defenseman out of the Guelph Storm in the OHL, Ryan Merkley. Obviously, you already heard Nick's analysis on Merkley earlier in the video. Their next selection was in the 3rd round, as they did not have a 2nd round selection this year. Number 87 overall, they took a center iceman out of Sweden, Linus Karlsson. In the 4th round, number 102 overall, from the BCHL, they took a forward, Jasper Weatherby. In the 6th round, number 176 overall, they took a goalie from the QMJHL's Rouyn-Noranda Huskies, Zachary Emmond. And then also in the 6th round, 182 overall, they took a center iceman from UMass Amherst, John Leonard. Obviously, John Leonard would be a teammate of other prospect defenseman, Mario Ferrero. So those are your 2018 NHL draft selections. I think the Sharks did pretty good with what they had. Taking Ryan Merkley, certainly by some with their 1st round selection, is viewed upon as a risky pick, but it could be a pick that has tremendous upside and tremendous reward in my opinion. So we'd love to hear your comments down below in the comments section. Let us know what you think of these Sharks prospects. Certainly leave some feedback on the video as well. It's always appreciated. If you're new to the channel here, hope you consider subscribing. We cover all 31 NHL teams, and there is plenty of content here for all hockey fans to enjoy. So if you're new, hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, make sure you hit that like button as well. I'd appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you very much for watching, everybody. We will catch you next time.